My name's Paige Gleeson. I'm a research curator at Museums of History New South Wales and co-curator for the exhibition Seeing Sydney, Knowing Country. So we have 3 copper plates here. Copper plates were used as a printing technology. So etched onto the surface of these plates is a map of New South Wales as it was in 1834. So these copper plates depict a map that Thomas Mitchell, who was the Surveyor General of New South Wales, made of the 19 counties. Mitchell was Surveyor General of New South Wales from 1828 until his death in 1855. And this survey that Mitchell made of the counties between 1827 and 1834 was really incredible at the time. It was an unparalleled feat of topographical mapping and very different than anything that had taken place in Britain because of the really mountainous terrain. In a lot of New South Wales and elsewhere in Australia, it was quite different than the type of land that had been surveyed and using the same types of tools that were used in Britain at that time. So Mitchell and his team were surveying really varied geographies and recording them in really exacting detail with only quite primitive surveying equipment and horse-drawn transportation. And you can see in prints of the map the incredible detail that is captured in it. So the map depicts the boundaries of New South Wales from the coast, south to north, and then all the way into far western New South Wales. All the incredible detail that's captured in these copper plates of Mitchell's map was etched by the hand engraver John Black Carmichael, who was a Scottish immigrant to Sydney who arrived in 1825. And this map that he and Mitchell produced was published from the plates that you see here on a single sheet of paper in London in 1834. So as Surveyor General, Mitchell undertook a number of survey exhibitions throughout his career, and he often relied on First Nations people as guides when he was visiting and surveying country that he was unfamiliar with, and he really relied on their skills in reading and navigating terrain. And certainly many First Nations people made really crucial contributions to the colonial exploration of the Australian continent with Mitchell and other surveyors all across Australia.
These are quite beautiful objects that had a really practical use for many years. I particularly like that the copper was used from the ship's hulls, so it really speaks, I guess, to the era that they were produced in and the scarcity around metals and materials at that time in the colony. You can see that in the shape of the copper and the way it's kind of warped and a little bit concave or convex in areas. As you can see, these are exhibiting a little bit of discoloration underneath a bit of a coating, so we're enlisting some specialist help, particularly for this exhibition, and we're consulting with a private metals conservator to do a little bit of further testing and to make sure that the discoloration that we can see can be potentially reduced and that the image surface is stabilised for preservation.
My name's Karina Acton and I'm an Objects and Metals conservator. So this is one of 3 plates, and the metal had been coated with a wax coating about 20-30 years ago, and that coating had caused some corrosion of the plates, so they're quite discoloured and quite dark. So the first step to see what the condition of the metal itself is to remove the coating. First we tested what the coating was soluble in, and then once we just worked that out, we then used a particular solvent to remove the coating. When we were taking the wax coating off, you could see corrosion in the wax coming off as quite a bright green, and now we're left with a black colour underneath where the sort of base layer of the corrosion is on the metal. The result that we see right here is that pretty much most of the coating, like 99% of the coating, has been removed, and now we've got corrosion of the metal surface that we need to try and reduce the appearance of. We're now going to try and reduce that staining as much as possible. The main aim of this treatment is to stabilise the metal, but these plates are also going to go on display, so we want to try and make them read as well as we can.
The copper plates have now been treated and they're on display in the exhibition Seeing Sydney, Knowing Country at the Museum of Sydney. The plates are beautiful and they're a really fine example of the craftsmanship of 19th century engravers, but they're also a really significant part of the historical record. They document the colonial expansion of New South Wales. that resulted in the disruption of First Nations systems of land management that had been in operation for well over 60,000 years. Mitchell's map documents the land from the perspective of a colonial surveyor, which he was, but the landscapes that he traversed and recorded also were and are country.